For over 60 years, a fire has been raging beneath one small American town, and it might keep burning for another 250 years. Welcome to Centralia, Pennsylvania, or what's left of it. The once ordinary mining town has become an extraordinary ghost town, thanks to a mysterious underground inferno. How did a simple fire turn Centralia into a burning wasteland that inspired horror films and urban legends? We're going to be diving into the true story of the town that's been on fire for decades. Centralia wasn't always a near-empty ghost town. Back in the mid-20th century, over 1,000 people lived there amid a booming coal mining community. But in May 1962, everything changed. That spring, Centralia officials decided to clean up the town landfill in preparation for Memorial Day. Their method? Set the trash on fire. It seemed like a routine burn, but this fire never went out. Unknown to the townsfolk, the flames snuck into an old mine tunnel through a hidden opening in the pit's wall. Beneath Centralia were miles of abandoned coal mines, and once the trash fire reached an exposed vein of coal, the town's fate was sealed. The coal caught fire deep underground, creating a subterranean blaze with a literal endless supply of fuel. At first, the residents thought the fire was minor. Right, the volunteer fire crew doused the landfill flames and everyone went back to business. But within days, smoke and foul fumes began seeping from the ground near the dump. Puzzled, officials poked around and discovered a gaping 15-foot wide hole at the bottom of the pit that they hadn't filled. It was a direct doorway into the coal mines below. The fire had slipped underground, spreading stealthily through coal tunnels, zigzagging below the town. Centralia had unwittingly lit a fuse on a massive hidden bomb under their feet. As the realization dawned that a mine fire was eating Centralia from below, authorities scrambled to fight it. Pennsylvania state engineers tried everything to extinguish the creeping blaze. First, they dug huge trenches, hoping to excavate and isolate the burning coal, but they underestimated how much earth they needed to move. The project ran out of money halfway, nowhere near stopping the fire. Next, they attempted to flood the mines by pumping in water and crushed rock slurry. Mother Nature didn't cooperate. A cold snap froze the water lines and machinery, and even then they only filled part of the mine tunnels, leaving plenty of space for the flames to snake onward. Every plan failed. Year after year, the fire kept advancing, burning up to 300 feet below ground, across an ever-expanding area. Millions of dollars were spent in the 60s and the 70s, but nothing could put out Centralia's fire for good. Meanwhile, life in Centralia went on strangely, almost normally at first. Through the 1960s and 1970s, the residents learned to live with a fire under them. They plugged their houses with fans and seals to keep out smoke. Some folks even found silver linings. The ground was warm year-round, so a few people grew tomatoes midwinter and never had to shovel snow off their sidewalks because it melted away. That's insane to me. To an outsider, that sounds crazy. Imagine planting a garden in January thanks to a mine fire heater under your yard. Centralia's mayor later said they assumed the fire would burn out on its own, like past mine fires had. This one never did. By the late 1970s, the smoldering crisis could no longer be ignored. Poisonous gas crept into homes, people would feel dizzy or even pass out from the carbon monoxide seeping up from under the ground. In winter, snow melted and odd patchy patterns where unseen heat leaked up. Vegetation turned sickly as tree roots were literally cooked in the soil. Roads began to buckle and crack from below. The idyllic, small-town life was turning into a scene from a nightmare. Smoke rising from a fissure in the abandoned Route 61 in Centralia. The highway was closed after pavement cracked and fumes began seeping out from the underground fire. Things truly hit a breaking point on Valentine's Day 1981. A local boy, a 12-year-old Todd Domboski, was playing in his grandmother's backyard when the earth suddenly gave way. A sinkhole 6 feet wide and 150 feet deep opened beneath him, hot steam billowing out of it. Todd grabbed an unexposed tree root and clung on for dear life until he was pulled to safety. He nearly escaped being swallowed by the fiery abyss below. That chilling incident a child nearly being burned alive by the hellscape under Centralia finally made everyone realize the gravity of the situation. If a giant burning sinkhole could just appear in the backyard, no one in the town was safe. By 1983, after 2 decades of futile firefighting and over $7 million spent, authorities decided Centralia could not be saved. The federal government allocated $42 million to evacuate the town and relocate its people. One by one, families packed up and left, and crews demolished houses, schools, and churches. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to empty lots and rubble. The U.S. Postal Service even revoked Centralia's zip code in 2002, a bureaucratic way of wiping it off the map. In just a few years in the 1980s, Centralia went from a tight-knit community to a near-deserted wasteland. Amazingly, not everyone actually agreed to leave. A few dozen stubborn residents refused to abandon their home, fire or not. Through the late 1980s, Centralia's remaining folks waged legal battles, fighting eviction orders, and claiming the danger was exaggerated. For a decade, the drama continued. Neighbors split into pro- and anti-relocation camps. Even the local paper listed which families were moving out each week. Finally, in 1992, Pennsylvania's governor invoked eminent domain to condemn all properties. The holdouts officially became trespassers in their own houses. Yet still, a handful stayed. Centralia never fully died. It kept a mayor and a town council for years, even as the population dwindled to single digits. It wasn't until 2013 that the last few residents, by then were fewer than 10, they reached a deal with the state. They would be allowed to live out their lives in Centralia, and when they died, the government would take ownership of their houses and tear everything down. Each of those final holdouts received $350,000 as compensation, essentially being paid to live on top of a toxic time bomb. As of today, only 5 or fewer people actually live in Centralia, each determined to stay until the very end. One former mayor, Lamar Mervine, stayed in his home until he passed at the age of 93, still defiantly squatting in the house where he was born. He said, "This is the only home I've ever owned, and I want to keep it," as he and his wife stubbornly told officials. They're not getting it. That kind of attachment shows just how much Centralia meant to his residents, even as the world around them literally burned. There's been quite a lot of legends, myths, and it's got quite a reputation, over the years. Some of these crazy things kind of turned out to be true. There was what they called the priest's curse. Centralia's troubles might have just been destiny, if you believe local legend. Back in 1878, Father Daniel Ignatius McDermott, hopefully I got that right, the town's first Catholic priest, was allegedly attacked by members of the Molly Maguires, which was a secret miners' society. Angered, he cursed Centralia, declaring that one day only the church would stand amidst the ruins. Spooky or coincidence, or not, for a long time, St. Ignatius Church did actually survive, while most of Centralia fell to ruin, lending credence to the tale of the priest's curse. There was also the conspiracy about the coal, right? Some residents had thought there was a more, evil plot behind Centralia's demise. According to the popular theory, government officials and coal companies let the fire burn on purpose, all to drive people out and unlock the valuable coal beneath the town. They point to how firefighting efforts always fell short and how quick the authorities were to push people out. Indeed, during the early fire years, several companies even offered to dig out the fire in exchange for the rights to the coal. However, investigations found no evidence of an evil conspiracy. Demand for Centralia's high-grade coal was declining and much of it had already been mined. Still, the conspiracy theory refuses to die. It just smolders like the town itself, fueling books and documentaries that ask, did Centralia burn for coal barons? And of course, there's the ghosts theories, the supernatural stuff. You walk through Centralia today and you might feel a chill up your spine, or steam hisses from cracks in the ground, giving the impression of some monster beneath your feet. Empty sidewalks lead to nowhere, and there's actually more tombstones than residents, with several old cemeteries holding the town's history in their graves. And there's of course the movie that was shot there. Centralia's spooky ambience was immortalized in pop culture through the 2006 horror film Silent Hill. The movie's writers had confirmed that Centralia's endless mine fire and smoke-filled ghost town helped inspire the film's settings. Cracked roads, rising stream, deserted buildings. It all mirrors Centralia's reality. While Silent Hill is fiction, Centralia is often called the real Silent Hill. This connection only boosted Centralia's legendary status as America's creepiest town. Today, Centralia is almost completely deserted. From a high of around 2,000 residents in its heyday to fewer than 5 people today. Experts say there's enough coal underground to keep the fire burning for another 2.5 centuries. In other words, long after any current resident is gone. Centralia's fire will likely still be chewing through coal seams, silently turning the earth to ash. Yet Centralia refuses to fade from memory. In fact, the town has become a dark tourist attraction. Curiosity seekers and urban explorers still visit for a glimpse of the smoke rising from the rubble for many years. The abandoned highway, which was called the Graffiti Highway, was actually covered with so much graffiti that the town covered it up with dirt to try to avoid people from trespassing into the town. In the end, the story of Centralia is both a cautionary tale and a source of morbid fascination. It's a stark reminder of how a small accident, a simple trash fire, spiraled into an unstoppable disaster beneath an unsuspecting town. Centralia will likely continue to burn and smoke for ages, a ghost town standing above its own eternal flame. It's tragic, it's eerie, but it's true. And as Centralia quietly smolders, it leaves behind an unforgettable legacy of resilience, mystery, and the power of nature to ultimately take back what humans abandoned. If you like this video, give me some new suggestions below. I'll see you next time.